attend today's event without any obstacle. Well, the Honorable Professor Dr. Jawahitha Sarabdeen as the speaker today, and all the beloved participants who are from overseas or from Indonesia. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dyah Murti Hastuti, and I will be your moderator today. Today, we are going to discuss the topic regarding the legal aspects of consumer data privacy protection in the age of digitalization. I'm very pleased to see you all coming in the event of International Short Course, which be held by Faculty of Law, Universitas Muhammadiyah, Surakarta. Well, let me hint the three great agenda for us today. The first one, we have presentation by our speaker. The second one, there is Q&A section. And then the last one, there will be take picture together and closing. Well, dear the participants, could you please, I invite you to turn on the camera. I'll give you a minute to turn on your camera. So in order we can see your beautiful faces each other. So I invite you to turn your camera on. Well, okay. As participants, you are encouraged to ask questions, share your thoughts, and present any relevant examples after the end of the presentation. Well, talking about the consumer data privacy, it has been known that currently we are in the digitalization era in which everything is connected to the internet. Even it can be said that we can get everything in a minute without going outside. It has been known that there are many sectors that already available in online, such as marketplace, health service, or education sectors. Regarding on this issue, then arising big question, how is the legal aspects in protecting the data privacy of consumer, and how to assess the possible privacy related issue for consumers? Okay, all the questions will be discussed further by our speaker, Professor Dr. Jawahitha Sarabdeen. Well, please let me share the curriculum vitae of Professor Dr. Jawahitha Sarabdeen. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Dr. Jawahitha Sarabdeen, she's a professor of law from Prince Sultan University, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and she also associate chair and director of MCL program law. She has got a lot of experience regarding on the law program, both of industry work or academic experience. She's also active in some publishing works or international journal. There are many numbers of journals that she has been published, and it will take too much time if I have to mention one by one. And in addition, she also active in academic research and achieved some research grant. One of her research grant is about data protection in cloud computing, Microsoft Arabia, Saudi Arabia 2014. Well, I think it's related to our topic today, which is about legal aspects of consumer privacy data. So without further ado, let's get started. Professor Dr. Jawahitha, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Are you ready?
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, okay.
You can hear me, yeah?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay, I'm sorry, do you want to show your camera or not? Turn on your camera?
I switched it on, let's see. But looks like the camera is not, the system here in the university doesn't allow the video on.
Okay.
So unfortunately.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I may not be able to share, but they have seen my picture, so I'm good. I can see them. Ms. Dyah, thank you for the introduction. But time to time, I need the participants to voice out their opinions.
Okay.
So I hope that their video audios are enabled, and they will be able to talk to me.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. So I'm ready. I can share the slides.
Okay, Miss. Okay, ma'am.
Okay. You can share it. You can see it, yeah?
Still on process. Yes, already now.
Okay. Thank you very much. And I'm pleased to be with you all. I can see there's about 50 plus participants. I'm happy to have them all. Welcome on board. Let's start our presentation. If there's anything you may share with me, yeah, I'm open to share any of the things that you would like to bring up to the table for the discussion. So as it's been introduced, the topic for today is legal aspect of consumer data privacy protection in the age of digitalization. And you have seen the importance of this topic. So it's me, Jawahitha. It's supposed to be Jawahira, but now my name, it's officially is Jawahitha. So it's a bit difficult to pronounce it for some people, but you can call me Jawa in case if you wanted to ask any questions. Okay, let's proceed. Now, what's going to be the learning objective today? So let's look at the three of the objectives. One, we will be understanding the consumer behavior in the era of digitalization. The second objective is to assess the possible privacy-related issues for consumers, because all of us, one or the other way, we are consumers. So there are privacy issues for the consumers, so we will be able to assess that. And also we will be analyzing the availability of the legal protections for data privacy. Generally, I will look at the world view because if I'm going to just look at one country, it may not be that comprehensive. Now, consumers in the digital world, we as consumers, we are sophisticated. Sophisticated in the sense that we are using various digital channels to make informed decisions. And also we use, before even we make the purchase decision, we go through multiple channels, multiple information, then only finally we decide what we really want to buy. So as consumers, we could see now we are more connected and we have more access to information, and we are deeper engaged with the content as well as the brand. Okay, I'm not going to just buy anything that have been presented to me. I will do my search when I do a purchase, and I will look at the consumer reviews, and I will look at the company's portfolio before I deciding what I want to buy. So the information that have been provided for me through various channels, that is the luxury that I have it as a consumer. So the companies, you could see, they use all the gigabytes of data that I have left when I was searching for information. They collect those data, they create the information about me, a profile about me and my needs and my wants, then they deliver the target advertisements or target offers to us. Okay, at some point it looks very, interesting, very useful. There are some other time we feel it annoyed because unnecessary, unwanted information is now being targeted to us, and we have been receiving those advertisement and other related information for which we don't have time to give our mind and heart. Now, before I proceed further, I want you to think about any significant purchase that you have made recently, okay, and how you have made the decision to purchase that particular product or service. You are going to take a couple of minutes and you are going to discuss with me. At least I want to take 3 opinions from all these participants to share with me your purchase. How did you finally decide to purchase the item. So I'm over to you, girls and guys. Think about it, take a couple of minutes and tell me what you have bought and what was your purchase process before you decided to buy that particular item or brand.
Okay, all the participants. Okay, could you please give your opinion? Professor Jawa has been invited you to give your opinion regarding on your last significant purchase and how did you decide it? Anyone want to share?
You can speak out or you can put it on the chat.
Yes, you may raise your hand up, or you may write it on the chat box. Miss Reta, Miss Ratna, Mr. Ahmad Gufron. If you don't know in English, you may say it in Bahasa Indonesia and we will try to translate it for you. Agung Cahyono, Mas Rizky, Fitria Ashhandiari. Anyone to share your idea, guys? Miss Reta, how about you? Okay.
Okay, all right. It looks like Dyah is going to answer my questions.
Still mute, Mbak Reta. Still mute. Still on mute. Masih di mute. Boleh di open mic-nya dulu. Still on mute. Oh, yes. You may open your mic first.
Are they coming in or shall we proceed, Miss Dyah?
Oh, mic tidak bisa dibuka. She said that there is something trouble with her mic. Mbak Reta, are you okay now?
Oh, yes, Mbak Dyah. But sorry, Mbak Dyah, I'm outside with my children.
Oh, it's okay.
So maybe I can focus to follow this seminar.
Yes, Miss Rita, what do you, can you tell me what you have bought recently and how you have bought them? I boleh faham sikit bahasa, okay, but not too much.
Yeah, Miss.
Yeah, what did you bought
Sorry,
recently
you
and
can
how?
repeat again, Miss, because maybe my speak English is just a little bit, Miss. So sorry.
No worries. You can mix and bahasa. I boleh faham sikit-sikit.
Bahasa Indonesia, it's okay, Mbak Reta.
Oh iya.
Prof tahu sedikit.
Oh iya, sorry. Sebelumnya ini saya kan lagi di luar sama anak-anak.
It's okay. It's okay.
Okay. Okay, Rita.
So maybe I a little understanding about the topic this afternoon.
Okay. So Professor, may I translate it? Jadi Prof Jawahitha tanya pembayaran apa yang terakhir kali Mbak Reta lakukan, and your decision process, dan proses akhirnya gimana?
Pembayaran.
Ya, pembelian.
Oh pembelian. Oh ya, kalau ini tadi kebetulan saya habis membeli beberapa barang untuk anak saya, Mbak.
Okay.
Terus saya payment by usually I use M-banking debit card. Because
did you buy it just one go or you search them?
Yes, Miss.
You cari various website and search them, or you just pergi ke shop and buy on your own?
Oh, I go to shop. No online.
No online.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I there buy a cover for my children, but it's saya mengalami kesulitan di pengiriman.
Okay.
For the shipping.
All right. Yes. So
Karena
what?
komunikasi antara seller dan buyer kurang baik, jadi ada kesalahpahaman dan itu merugikan saya sebagai buyer.
Okay, so she has a problem with the payment. Okay, and the buyer and the seller. Okay, now
it's
from
not about the payment, but it's communication. It's
communication,
different.
yeah,
It's different seller and me,
different
buyer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So from what I have heard from Rita, you can see she had bought the purchase. For example, if I'm a mother, so when I do purchase for my kids, I looked at various websites of various dealers like Gap, like Children's Place and all others. Then I choose which shop and which item that I would like to go and purchase. Miss Rita, you can put it on mute.
Okay, me, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Okay, so in here, what you see, whether it's clothes, whether it's, let's say, a TV, a computer, a laptop, whatever that you are going to buy it, you don't just go and buy them. What you do a search. You search various websites. You search various brands. Okay, and then you see people's opinion, then only you decide to go and buy. So there are activities what you do online and offline. It could be possibly collected those data by various parties to understand about you. That's why we see that there are things it's easy for us for a Google anytime, Yahoo anytime you can check in. But you don't know what you have left behind for them to collect about you. So activities and this activity, what you could say, any purchase that any consumers nowadays they're doing, they're just not doing, just don't directly go and buy it. They do shop around. They collect information. In the process, they leave a lot of information for the other parties like merchants to collect it and to understand about your purchase behavior. Now, the question is, we as customers, are we really customers or we are also a product? Okay, if we look at this one, you can see when we use a service or a product, the company could possibly treat us as both, as a customer as well as a product. Customer is because we are buying their product. For example, Ms. Rita had bought clothes and things for the children. She's a customer. But at the same time, what happened, the companies could collect her data, her children's data, her family data, and she will become a product for them to market. Okay, so the customers, they are customers at that instance, and they could be considered as a product for the companies for future marketing activities. Okay, whether or not we would be concerned with the use of data in commercial. Now let's talk about it. There are so many free websites. We go to Facebook. We put everything on the Facebook. What we do today, what we eat, where do we go, and the same thing. We go Google it and search whatever information that we do and everything. It's free. We think it's free, but you have to understand there is no free lunch in the world. Okay, no one is going to give you anything free unless they get something in return. I'm going to talk about that later. Now we see, as we discover, even at the commercial entities we are working for, they are collecting information. There are lots of companies, whether our own employer, whether our government, whether the hospitals and the companies that we go and buy the products, all of them, you could see they are collecting data. Okay, and most of us, we don't know what kind of data are being collected on us. But the moment those companies' security system is poor, then all those data could be leaked to the public or to unnecessary people that create even more problem. So the next question is how they are collecting our data. One of the easiest things that they're doing is tracking us. Okay, you can remember how we have been tracked during COVID. Okay, it's good they have tracked the infections, they control infectious diseases, and they have taken actions and all those things. But those are exceptional circumstances. But if you look at normal tracking, we are usually leaving an electronic trail wherever we go. We leave information about our movements, our actions, our preferences, everything we are leaving to the whole world to collect about us, to know about us. For example, take cell phone. Now, let's say Rita is using her cell phone and her movement could be tracked and it could be used. For example, you know the famous Nordstrom. What they have done, they have given the customers free Wi-Fi. When you are in their stores, you have free Wi-Fi. And every floor that you go, they track you. And they send you immediate promotion, what is happening, what are the things available in that particular store. Sometimes it could be useful, but some other time you would know it pushes you into unnecessary purchase. Okay, but for you, it could be a loss. For the company, it is basically a targeted advertising for you and leading the customers to purchase even the one which they have not planned to purchase. Okay, and also closed circuit cameras. You know, the cameras are everywhere. Where you go, what you do, all could be captured. In the United Kingdom, the UK alone, it is estimated one closed circuit television camera for every 10-15 people. So imagine how many millions of cameras are on display to capture people's movement. Not only they are capturing the movement, they don't need to invest that much in the circuit cameras unless and otherwise they collect the data and use it to the benefit. Okay, so as we consume most of our media electronically or directly through online, even anything that we do, okay, it's being tracked. The government tracks us, the corporation tracks us, the books we read, the music we listen, the newspaper we visited, the movies and the TV shows, whatever that we are doing. Even you don't realize what you do in frequency, but they know what you are doing. They have a whole profile of you. Okay, it's because simply they have collected all our information from various browsing activities or various other using various tracking tools. Now, I just have another question in here. I want people to participate. Even in Bahasa, you can talk about Bahasa Indonesia, and Dyah could be able to translate if I don't understand. Okay, this is very important so that I can really get you all involved into the discussion. Now, have you been tracked? If you have been tracked, how you have been tracked, and how did you get to know that you have been tracked? Anyone?
Okay, anyone? Miss Litranatran? Okay, all the participants, we invite you to give your opinion about have you been tracked? I think it's something common for our life currently, yeah, for being tracked.
Yeah.
Okay, so Pak Ahmad Gufron, Abdul Rahman, for anyone, please show your camera, turn on your camera, show your face.
Okay, while waiting for them, Dyah, have you been tracked?
Yes, I have. Not me, but someone next around me. But for me,
okay.
no.
How they have been tracked? How did they know they have been tracked?
Because at that time there was the same number. They sent some message to us, but the content of message is such. Can you give me like, can you send me money, such like that. So it doesn't come on for us because the person's behavior is not like that. So that's why we didn't believe that it's
you were cautious. In here, it's a very serious tracking in your case, in your friend's case.
Yeah.
But even, you sometimes, a very simple one, let's say I wanted to go and visit Walmart or Carrefour or some other place. Okay, and I put the GPS when I was driving. And, the whole record, it's in there. Where did you go? And where did you stop? Which restaurant you stopped? All the information is there. Once your journey is completed, do you see they will ask you to rate? How do you see your experience in this particular shop? Do you see that? So even if it looks very innocent, but you have been tracked and you don't want to be tracked. But the thing is, they have tracked you because you use their system. You use your Google map to go and they have tracked you. And how do you get to know? Because they have sent you a message saying that, how do you find it? Rate us or rate the company. Okay. And what did you do? In here, I don't have no other options, because if I want to go for a certain place, which I don't know, I still have to rely on Google Map. So in return, they are collecting my data. In here, there are times the consumers have no other way, okay, for them. And most of the time, you just have to be aware and take precautionary measures in order to avoid tracking. One of the best thing and the worst thing that you have seen is about COVID time. Do you see that? COVID time, there are curfew. And where you can't really go, the moment you step out, like in Canada, the moment you step out, you would be tracked through your mobile phone. And you need to give explanation why you have violated that particular curfew, because you are not supposed to leave unless and otherwise for emergency. So these kind of things, you are tracked, okay? And sometimes you have an option, just to ignore it. Some other time it could be very serious, as what you have shared with me. Now, the other thing is computers provide various analytical tools, okay, which were not previously available. For example, they can use my license plate combined with the traffic cameras to track my vehicle, okay, and see where I am going and what are my activities. Then the face recognition technology, it is one of the hotly argued one. Now it's being used in many places, including airports and others. Imagine the face recognition technology together with the closed circuit television cameras, it can track all your movement, okay? So your fingerprint is there, the sensitive data, your facial recognition things is there, and it creates a lot of violation for privacy. Now comes, I can see in your, the picture that you put, international sort cases, the sort courses, AI have been in display. Now, AI is talk of the town. AI is the thing that everything is happening. So big data is one of the most important things that revolutionizing the whole industries and whole, activities, even in the government. So the ability to store massive amount of information and the ability to combine data from many different sources allow the commercial entities and the governments to see about a bigger picture of things that they have not seen in the past. Take the example of healthcare. It's good that the healthcare, the hospitals and others are using the big data or the AI. It is good they are treating people, their diagnosis is becoming very sophisticated, the treatment becoming very sophisticated. But the thing is, when they collect the data, if they don't really protect the data when they store, it's going to be a disaster. If anybody's data is leaked, it's going to affect their employment, because the employer may not want to hire a person who has a high risk of early death, and or a person might have, serious illness. Or even if you have insurance, the insurance is going to go up because of the leak of the data. The same thing goes on to the law enforcement. Law enforcement are using to track criminals. But the end, what happened? There are innocent people have been also mistakenly identified as criminal because of the wrong data they have collected. Maybe the names are similar, the first name, the last name may not be similar, but they messed up. So that could lead to wrong arrest and prosecutions. Okay, and also the financial sector, the banking and insurance companies and other finance companies, they are using AI, and it's best that they're using it, and they use it if they don't have appropriate measure to protect data and to collect data legally, then there's going to be a biggest issue for many people. Now we look at the commercial and government issues. Privacy issues arise from the commercial and government use of information is undeniable. There are so many information are collected by the government and commercial entities. And I have mentioned to you, there is no free service. Okay, you can say Google is free, TikTok is free, Twitter is free. You can say free, but it's not really free. Okay, companies should make money. How Google makes money, how TikToks and other companies who are providing free services, even for that sake, Facebook, making money, because they are not asking you to pay for the service that you are getting, but they are collecting your data. They collect your information directly or indirectly from you with consent or without consent. Then they're selling the data for the marketing companies so that the marketing companies would be able to advertise to you directly and influence you in the decision making. So selling data is the biggest profit for those companies who are giving you free service. Okay, but you see, it's okay, you're getting free service, they are collecting data, maybe you have an option to be with them or to withdraw from them. But the worst part of it, you could see, is the customers, we are paying money, but it's still our data being collected without our consent and our information being sold to the others. For example, telecom companies, telecommunication companies, they have our mobile numbers and they sell it to the others. Do you see how many SMS, how many, other messages we are getting as promotion? Is not from the service provider themselves, it's from a third party, because they share the details and they sell them. Okay, and that is really frustrating, because if they don't get the consent from you, then they're doing something which they supposed to, they are doing something which they are not supposed to do it. Now, I have mentioned to you about the use of Google, TikTok, Twitter for free, and we know very well that they are not free. Now, should we care about the commercial use of our information? If you do care, then you won't sign into those. But it looks like now, without them, our life is so boring. So at least you can make an informed decision what information you wanted to search, what information you wanted to give it to them, what kind of services you want to join. Because you know very well, even if they are free, they are not free. They're collecting your information, they are selling it. So one classic example, let's say, if you happen to visit a website related to cancer, so they assume the ISP might collect information and sell it to other companies, even insurance companies. The insurance companies might assume, okay, this person had access information about cancer. There's a likelihood he might have early cancer or late cancer, whatever it is. The insurance company, if they happen to know, they consider it as a risk, they may deny you the insurance policy, or even they hike up your insurance plan, okay, the payment. So you could see information are collected. Some of the information are collected legally, and some of them are collected illegally when we have access information. But the most important thing you could see, when they collected information legally and they have to collect properly, there is a way to collect it. And the law plays a very important role in dictating how the data should be collected. Okay. There is the EU laws, I will be talking about it later, tells many companies in the EU how they should collect the data, excuse me, how they have to store the data, what are the security measures that they have to take in order to protect data. Now look at the case study. I want you to have a look first before I explain to you. I give you 2 minutes, yeah? Read the case. Okay, this is a Target store. This is one of those, big stores in the United States. And they wanted to detect pregnancy ladies. Why? Because they want to target for advertisement. Okay, and they want to sell their certain specific goods and services. Now, the Target store set out to identify expecting mothers, and they want to identify them as early as possible. There are 2 options available for them. Number 1 is they can go to the public records, okay, public birth records, and they will be in the hospitals, which is available, who's pregnant, who's, who gone for these kind of things might be available. But this is easily accessible not only by Target, but also by other companies like Walmart, like any other companies in US, or even in, let's say, if it is in Indonesia, any of the companies, they would be able to get what is publicly available. So what Target store have done, they use big data. So what they did, they have a discount club cards. Do you see the discount cards the companies gives us? Like when you're flying, they will give you a club membership. Okay, and when you are with some big companies, they will give you certain discount cards. They use the discount cards. And in order for you to be a member, for example, let's say I'm with Emirates Airlines. I'm a member of the frequent flyer. So before I become a member of a frequent flyer, what I have to do, I have to give them specific information. Who am I? What is my age? What is my marital status? And all kind of things. These data, it's very useful for the companies to know about me more. So this is what the Target have done it. According to their club membership, whoever is going to be a member, they have to provide the information related to age, the marital status, the number of kids they have, and distance to the Target stores, estimated salary, and all the relevant informations. They use this information as one of the best to predict and target advertisement to the new mothers. And also they have a very interesting thing. They have a baby shower registry. Okay, and through this also they managed to collect information. So what they have discovered, pregnant women in the US purchase large quantity of unscented lotions at the beginning of the 2nd trimester. Okay, and they purchase calcium, magnesium, zinc for the first 20 weeks, because these are the one usually the doctors recommend for the expecting mothers. And also they have purchased free, scent-free soaps and extra cotton balls and all those things. They have identified 25 different items that indicate, that tells that these ladies are pregnant. So if they happen to buy many of these 25 items, that indicate these mothers are expecting. And by that understanding, they started putting target advertisement for them. So you see how violating this could be. Now, my question is here, what are the privacy involved in here? I want you to think about, guys and girls, please talk so that we would be able to communicate much better. I give you 2 minutes, okay? Otherwise, I'm going to get hold of Dyah to answer me. Okay, yeah, but you got some information from that. What in that case study of target, what are the privacy involved in there? Okay, just 2 minutes and then you can answer me. You can talk to friends if you are sitting with them.
Okay, for anyone, could you please give your opinion regarding on the question, what are the privacy issues involved here? So as to show your active participants, can you show your face by turn your camera on and give your opinion related to the question? So come on, Miss Aya, Mbak Aya Muhammad from the doctoral program. Hello, Aya Muhammad, Mbak Aya. Lan An, I'm sorry if I pronounce wrong. Lan An. Agusti Prayoga, Nadia Ulfa.
Okay, I think they like to be, listening rather than talking. Let's answer this question. What are the privacy involved here? You see that mainly the data privacy, because their data had been collected. Okay, and in that data, there are general data and there are sensitive data. Age, okay, it's specifically is a sensitive data. And any medical related issues, they are sensitive data. And salary and the bank related activities, they're sensitive data. So they collected sensitive data along with the general data. Okay. So these kind of collections, it is not justifiable until and unless target get approval from those people from whom they are collecting the data. Now, we were talking about privacy and data protections and all those things. Now, look at what is privacy. Why? What do you think of privacy? Privacy, basically, the freedom we have to decide, okay, what we want to do about ourselves, our information. Is it selectively you can keep them or you can release them as you wish. When I wanted to go and use TikTok, I decided to release my freedom to TikTok company. Or I don't want to, I just want to be private, means I can keep it. I don't need to. So I should have that decision-making power. Not the company, not the government, nor anybody else except me, my privacy. And I have to have the right to reveal whenever I want to. So that's why Alan Weston in 1967 says, when it comes to privacy, is the claim of individual, it could be individual, group, or institutions. They determine themselves when, how, and to what extent they want to communicate their privacy to the others. It is me about my privacy, and I have to decide when and how and what extent I want to share the information, no one else. Okay, this is where the problem comes. We don't let anybody collect it, but they're collecting it. Even we don't know they're collecting it, and we don't know how they are using it. There are different types of privacy. I picked up 3 different privacy. One is a personal privacy. It is personal privacy. We can, in other words, we can say bodily privacy. It's about body. Okay, it's a physical, protecting a person against undue interference. No one can touch you without your consent. Okay, no one can search your body without your consent. It violates your bodily privacy. It violates your moral sense. Okay, that's why even if, okay, the police want to search your body, they need to have a warrant. Okay, it is your bodily privacy is something, unless and otherwise, when you go to the airport, for example, and the airport, you declare, yes, you allow for security and safety reason, you won't allow bodily search. So that's acceptable because the law allows it. But other than that, you have a privacy for body. And also the other one is territorial privacy, or we call it as a jurisdictional privacy, is where privacy, it's around you, around your house, okay? Around you, your office. Anyone wants to search your office, your house, okay, or your belongings, they need to have a search warrant, otherwise they could be sued for trespass. And the other one is informational privacy. This is what our main target is, deal with gathering, compiling, and dismissing or disseminating the information about an individual. Now, when it comes to threat to privacy, how, especially data privacy, if you look at it, there are companies and governments and others, even NGOs are collecting data. So aggregations and data mining is becoming one of the biggest threat. And once the data is collected, if they don't have a proper security system, if they have a poor system, then that's also becoming an issue. Then comes the government. Government has lots of data about us, about you. They have about, you know, the tax information, the homeland security, and so many other things. So sometimes what happened, they collect the data and so they use it for security concerns, but there is also possibility of misuse. Okay, and that's also a kind of threat. Now, the internet, if you look at it, there are so many attacks, so many web surfing and unscripted email addresses. All these things could be an exposure to our privacy, and it's harm, it's a threat to the privacy. The other one is corporate rights and private businesses. And this is very common. I have mentioned to you throughout, the companies do collect data. I don't think any company without collecting data. They do collect either small amount, a bigger amount, a larger amount, they do that, okay? So the privacy is basically for sale, okay? And they say it's free, but I have mentioned to you it's not free. For example, the frequent buyer cards is reduce your privacy right because you already have given the consent to them to collect all those data, okay? And they use it to their benefit. Now, some data as combined could reveal the whole identity. It could tell you your home address and your phone numbers, and it could lead to people to harass you also. Your activities, your mortgage detail, your vehicle registration. If there's any court cases, it could tell you. And also it could tell any information that could be easily accessible. And if they happen to have hacked into a system where more sensitive data is collected, they even would be able to collect more information. Now, look at this case of Sony BMG Music Entertainment. I want you to understand first before I explain. I give you about 2 minutes and just read it, then I will explain to you. Okay, I know it's not 2 minutes, but we'll move on. I'm afraid that we may not be able to cover all the area, but we'll say it. Sony BMG is a music entertainment that you know very well. A subsidiary is Sony Corporations of America. It represents popular musicians and entertainers, including popular artists with children and teenagers. Okay, so this is the catch in here. And they operate more than 1,000 websites for its musical artists, okay, and others. And what happened, Sony requires to submit a broad range of personal information from your date of birth, this is sensitive data, to many other sensitive data, okay? And out of these 1,000 websites, about 169 of their websites collect personal information from 30,000, not 3,000, 30,000 underage children without obtaining their parents. Because if the children are minor, underage is required by this law, the Children Online Privacy Protection Act of the US. It requires you to get the parents' consent, but what they have done is they collected about 30,000 underage children's information in not compliance with this law. So they violated this law. And many of these sites enable students to create their fan page and the review artist album, upload photos, videos, post messages, and there are a lot of activities they have facilitated for the teenagers and young children. Okay, and what happened, these children in these sites, they managed to interact with all kind of adults, not only children, adults. So that's exposed them a greater danger. Now, these have been brought to the attention of the regulator in here, the Federal Trade Commission, and they filed a case. So Sony Music, they have accepted their mistake, and they have been asked to pay $1 million as a settlement to the regulator. And this is considered as one of the highest civil penalty that have been imposed. So in here, what went wrong? The music fan website, Sony Music, improperly collected the data because they didn't get the consent of the parents. And they maintained the data without telling that they are maintaining it. And they disclose personal information of thousands of children who are under 13. This is a very sensitive age. They are protected very well without the consent of the parents. So all these violations was a disaster for the company, and they have to pay millions to settle it. Okay, it is not only the payment money involved, but also you could see the reputation was at stake. Now, another case is the retailer TJX. And this one, TJX is one of the biggest and widest company too. They have about 2,500 stores worldwide. And they failed to take reasonable, appropriate security measures to prevent unauthorized access to personal information in their computer network. So what happened, unfortunately, an intruder exploited the failures and obtained millions of debit card and credit card information. Dyah was saying, you know, they have somebody ask for the debit card and credit card information, but here they didn't even ask for it. They just went in and got the information. And also they have collected approximately about 500,000 people's information who have returned their merchandise. Because of these failures, the banks we were attached to this company, they have to cancel millions of cards that cost them much of loss. So all these things led to the investigations, and they have to settle with the regulator. They have to pay certain amount of monetary compensations. And in addition to that, they have been asked to retain independent third-party security auditors. This is an extra cost for the company. And they have to do a security program by, biennial. It's basically every other year. They need to do a security check by a third party for 20 years. Imagine how much the company is going to spend on this initiative. And those who are auditing the system, they have to certify that the program the company has been implementing meet the expectation of the regulator, the FTCs. And also they have to show it is sufficiently effective, and reasonable assurance should be given in terms of security of the consumer's personal information. So there are companies and countries that are taking measures to make sure that the companies are following appropriate, legal mechanism to protect the data. But these are just, very few. And there are so many companies, they are not even get caught, but they were collecting and distributing and selling, making money based on our privacy or private information. Now, when it comes to privacy, you could see this is one of the fundamental rights. Okay, and it's becoming the most or the hottest important right in the modern age, because many countries, you could see, recognize some privacy, but they didn't give a proper consideration or legal protections for data privacy. In many countries, one or the other, this right are protected. For example, you have protection, for any kind of violation against your home, your person, and also the communication. Okay, but when it comes to data privacy, you could say it is not really well protected. When it comes to the data privacy, there are two kind of initiatives have taken by many countries. One type of country provide comprehensive law, the other one provide sectorial laws. Comprehensive law is basically, it addresses from collections to destroying or destructions of the data. So it talks about collections, use, dissemination of personal information for public and private sector. And this kind of law requires a particular commissioner or independent body to enforce the law, but the oversight and enforcement is very difficult because each and every company is using the data. And this kind of law available in European Union countries because it's mandatory. Australia has it, Canada has it, UK as part of the previous EU country, they have it. Even Saudi Arabia here, they have recently passed the law. Malaysia passed the law. Okay, I'm not sure about Indonesia, but because this is necessary in order to protect individual from unnecessary disclosure of their data. Then there are other countries, especially the US, it is more onto sectoral laws. They don't want to have a comprehensive law. They only address sector by sector, health sector, the telecommunication sector, then the IT sector, those sectoral law. But this law, it's a little bit challenging because they need to pass law for new technology that comes now and then. So it is not going to be comprehensive for all the aspect of the privacy law. Now, when it comes to the first type, that is the comprehensive law, the European Union adopted it as the first. They started in 1994 and 2008 was the latest one. And the privacy protection in EU countries and the countries that follow EU steps, they are stronger than the US because US follow the sectoral wise, okay? And why many of the countries are following the EU law, which is sometimes good, or most of the time it's good for the consumers, is because they say it very clearly. No EU citizens' data is going to be transferred to a third country if the third country doesn't have an adequate privacy protection. For example, if Indonesia doesn't have a proper privacy law, no Indonesian company would be able to collect data of the EU citizens for their business purposes. And because of that, you could see many countries in the world have enacted the law similar to the European Union because they don't want to lose the customers and the business in EU 15, 16 countries. It's huge. You don't want to miss the opportunity to do business with them. But the US, they managed to negotiate a safe harbor agreement that I will talk to you later. Now, look at the EU-based data protection laws, and I'm just covering the most important principle that comes within the EU data protection laws. One is accountability. The accountability here, this principle requires the data controller to have appropriate policy to show responsibility towards the data subject. You are responsible from the collections to the destroying of the data. So you have to tell them how you are collecting and how you will destroy the data. You have to have a policy in the organization for the collections, processing, and disclosure to the individuals about the data collection. The second important principle that you can see it is transparency. The data collected should be disclosed to the data subject, and they have to say how they are collecting it, how they are using it, and what type of data they are collecting it, and what are the usage of data. It's very important, you have to. And also they have to ensure that the security system and the measures they are taking so that their data is not going to be hacked and disclosed to any other unwanted party. So all these things need to be very clearly explained to the data subject, to you and to me, before they collect the data. The other one is choice and consent. Data subject must be given consent. If I don't consent to it, that's it. They cannot collect my data. Okay, consent is necessary. Sometimes there is a need for express consent. Sometimes there is a need for implied consent. Express consent is a must for sensitive data. For example, data related to your health, data related to your bank information, data related to your religion, data related to your political affiliations. These are some of those sensitive data. Before they collect, they need to get express consent. And some of the data, they might get implied consent. But if you were going to further transfer, let's say an Indonesian company collecting data from you, and they want to transfer this data to Australia or to China to further process. And if that is the case, they also need to disclose that information, saying that they're collecting it now. It could be further processed in China, and what are the measures they have taken in order to avoid any abuses in China. Okay. Now, limiting data collection. It is very important. You have to collect what is necessary. You cannot collect data for future use. I'm collecting data now, for example, to see how certain injection is affecting people. So just collect for that purpose. You don't collect for future use. It is minimalistic approach in here. You minimalize the data collection for the purpose for which you want to use it, not excessive data for future use. And the other one is use and retention and destruction of the data. The principle in here insists on collecting data for disclosed and consented purpose only. And the data should be destroyed once the purpose is accomplished. Let's say I have collected the data about the effect of certain vaccine. And once I understand the vaccine effect, I have to destroy it. I cannot keep that data. Okay. And the data collected and used for any application should be collected and processed for the disclosed purpose with implied or express consent, depends on the type of data that you're collecting. Okay. And it has to be only for original purpose. If you have to use the data for further purposes, then you need to, for example, let's say you want to do research, you want to do transfer to some other parties, you need to approach the same people to get the consent. The sixth principle under the EU data protection law is the access to data. When the data is used for, and there's an automatic decision involved in the data use, then the data subject has a right to access the data. And if there is an error, you and me should be given an opportunity to correct. I don't think anyone had approached us. Anyone had shown us what kind of data, the automatic decision they have taken, what was the finding. Even we don't know who is holding what kind of information. But if you follow the EU law, it's very clearly said, if there is any machine is going to make a decision about you, they have to let you know, because you have a right to access it and to agree to it and to correct it, because you don't know, the machine is making decision. Probably they are making mistake because the input of data may be wrong. And if they're asking if and also I have a right to ask for an explanation, how they have come up with this decision. Okay. So this kind of thing should be published and available for people, but many of us, we don't know. And, and if they don't follow this particular principle, there's going to be a problem for them because they're violating the law in EU countries or the countries which adopted law related to data protection following the EU data protection law. Now, data disclosure limitation, the data collected should not be disclosed to a third party unless a third party is working related to that particular company which collected your data. Okay, for example, a hospital collected data, but the hospital doesn't have the facility to analyze the data. They can outsource it. But remember, when they outsource it, they have to make sure the outsourced company is bound by the data principle that you and the hospital have signed in. Okay. And the third party, if the third party is located outside of the country, then there should be a detailed record of transferee, where you are transferring, and what are the technical measures the third party have taken, any organizational policy and the best practice, the company collected the data, the company which have received the data outside. And also if it is a contract based, then you have to know all the contractual record, just to make sure once the data had left the jurisdiction of Indonesia, for example, to any other third country, the party in the third country are using the data as per the policy and the procedures and the law in Indonesia, for example. Now, the data security, this is another requirement because there are lots of breaches that happen. Lots of leakage had happened. I had explained to you earlier what happened to that particular company, which have been asked to do all of auditing and all those things. This is, they have to ensure they follow the standard data security measures. Okay, and this is important to ensure there is no data leakage, there is no misuse, abuses. Yeah, and it's also very important they have appropriate technical and organizational measures that may be that require to access data. And it may be, let's say a bank has a computer with all the data, and not everyone in the bank should have access to it. There are only limited people. Maybe the managers, the senior managers should be given access. Even that's not free access. It should be password protected. And all the data that have been collected has to be ensured there is a proper security in the storage system too. And the data quality is one of the other things that have been discussed under the EU law. The data collected should be up to date and it should be complete. Okay, if there is any defect and outdated data, this is going to create a liability. Let me discuss with you a case that happened in Spain. There was a case filed against Google in Spain. The reason is there was one customer of Google, and he found out his data, the old data is still available in the cache of Google. And that is quite damaging for him. Okay, and he sent an email to Google office in Spain. Spain is part of EU, yeah? You remember they have a good law. That's what I'm talking about. He sent email and he requested them to delete. And according to this law, the individual has a right to, forget about that. It means deletion. The whole deletion means no one would be able to get that data again if they search. Okay, right to be forgotten. That's what we call it. And he requested, after certain requests, he found out that data was available. That information is still, Google did not remove it totally. He filed a case and he won. He won because there was a violation on the part of Google. Google had put that information. Of course, it's not Google. It's a third party who uses the Google. But as Google is a service provider, they have a right and they have a duty when somebody have demanded for removal, and to be right to be forgotten means to remove that item totally. They should have removed it, which they have not done it. And therefore, Google was held responsible in that case. So remember, any outdated data has to be removed. Any incomplete data need to be completed, because once you have incomplete data, it's going to affect the whole decision making. That's why data quality is very important. Then comes monitoring and compliance. The organizations and authorities should implement appropriate policy related to management of the data that they are collecting. So they have to monitor how the data is collected, how is used, how is stored, they also need to make sure that there is compliance with the law. Okay, so the whole privacy management program and measurement need to be implemented. Not only implemented, it need to be audited to see the effectiveness of it. Imagine the banks, for example, they have all the privacy management program, but there is always leakage of customer information. That shows that their program is not efficient. And the audit should disclose this problem, and the company has to take measures to fix this problem. That's why monitoring and compliance is becoming very important. Now, I want you to look at it. Let's look at, you are working in a hospital, okay, or you are operating a hospital or financial institution. What are the measures you would be implementing to protect sensitive data? One or two items. If you don't want it to talk, you can share with me with the chat. You can just type it here, girls and guys. If I'm the only one talking, it's going to be boring. It's always interesting if I bring people in. If you operate in hospital, okay, or bank, what, because they are handling sensitive information, what kind of measures you as an organization, or you're the manager in the organization, you would implement? You heard me, all the 10 items that EU has it. What are the things you would consider?
Okay, I think one of the participants here, there is the one who worked in a hospital.
Uh-huh.
Pak Gatot, are you here, Pak Gatot? Mr. Gatot? Some of them chat that the text that there is a problem with the microphone.
Oh, really? They can chat with me if they can.
Yeah.
Ask them to use the chat box.
Okay, for the participants who cannot open the microphone, or the one who hasn't got the camera on, so you may write on the chat box. It's okay. Pak Andika, maybe you want to share about if you are a part. Okay, Bu Nurul Anissa, this is a doctor ya, Bu Nurul ya? Yeah, okay. You want to give your opinion? This is a doctor, Prof. Mbak Nurul Anissa.
Okay, that's good. Is a doctor?
Yes, yeah.
Wow, okay, go ahead. I would like to hear from you.
Good afternoon, Miss Nurul Anissa. Can you open your microphone? Hello, Miss Nurul Anissa. Oh, it's on mute. Yes. Okay. Can you? Is there trouble on your microphone? So you may chat. You may write on the chat box regarding the question of if you are operating a hospital, what are the measures you will implement? You will
protect the sensitive data. Yeah.
Yes. You may give your idea on the chat box. Already the other? Pak Andika, Yulia Tama, do you want to share your idea, Mr. Andika? Or a financial institution?
Okay, while waiting for them, Dyah, okay, now I'm going to pull you in. You assume you are the director or the CEO of a bank. My money is there and I want protection and I don't want the sensitive information to be released. Okay, that's somebody's, okay. And we're saying encrypt data, that's great. Okay, what else? Encryption of data is one of the security measures we were talking about. Do you remember? Okay, beside encryptions, what else they would be able to do it? Okay, yeah, yes. What else you can do it? You can collect data when you are, before even collecting the data, you can approach the customers, you get the consent of them. That's very important. Okay, using firewalls, yes, this is also part of the security measures. Yeah. So, but if I want to collect data, even before I collecting data, what should I do? Because this is after collecting data, you have all the, encryptions and firewall and all those things.
Hello.
Yes.
Can
Yeah,
you
hi.
hear me? Hi.
Yes, Nurul. Hi. Go ahead.
I thought before we collect their information, we should make some informed consent beforehand,
Yes, excellent. Yes.
and then there's something private about them
Mhm.
that only they know. Like maybe lately we rarely do this, but I remember back in the day, we will make some question only they know.
Mhm.
Maybe we
Okay,
can use also,
security
yes,
questions to access it. Otherwise, let's say if I know the password and the username, but even that you cannot get in until you answer the security questions. This is another
yes,
layers of security that they put. Then someone else have written in here, integrated commitment, I believe the management commitment perhaps. Okay, anything else you girls would like to add, or boys? Anyone else? Yes, Nurul. Okay, basically, if you look at it, whatever the information that discussed earlier, okay, consent, security, retention, minimum data collection, all those things could be implemented in here. Especially somebody had mentioned out there, I think Aya, about the security one, especially these hospitals and banks are holding sensitive information, even governments. They should make sure the security is up to date and they follow the best security measures so that no one would have an unnecessary access, or they have, put in place even employees within their institution would not abuse the system. Now we go on to the sectorial laws. In sectorial laws, usual in the countries, Indonesia, be it Malaysia, be it US, they didn't have an explicit right to privacy. They discuss a lot of things, but they have not talked about privacy in the constitution. So there is a limited constitutional right also only available, especially the Bill of Rights in US. Very limited rights recognizes the privacy right. And there are patchwork of special categories of personal data are protected. For example, financial reports are protected, credit reports are protected, video rentals are protected, and health data are protected, children's information are protected, just very sectoral wise. There is no legal protections for individual privacy on the internet in the US at all until recently, yeah. So you can up to date, you cannot see it. It's still sectoral, unlike the UK, the EU ones. Even the UK, Canada has a good one compared to US. The regulators in US believe self-regulation or the sectoral one is enough, but in fact it's not enough. There are lots of things are happening which the US law may not be able to address it. Yeah. And what happened, if you remember, EU have put very clearly one provision: any countries which doesn't have a similar law like the EU law, EU citizens' data cannot be transferred to them. That's a blow for US, because US very important trading partners for US is the EU companies. So US for 2 years negotiated to convince the EU member countries that US system is adequate. Then the results was they are not satisfied, but it's still they come up with an agreement. They call it as a safe harbor agreement. In this safe harbor agreement, not the company, not the government, but the companies, they need to take initiative to make sure they have certain set of privacy principle which is equivalent to the EU law, and that should be approved by the US State of Commerce plus the Internal Market Directorate of the European Union to see that somehow it has some level of protections that is equivalent to EU law. But enforcement is a big problem. We don't know how they are going to enforce it in US. And there's a lot of criticism saying that it is not going to be effective. And again, because of all this, the agreement, safe harbor agreement with the US have been reevaluated and new condition had been put by the European Union. Now, the other thing you can see a common approach, whether a country has law or it doesn't have laws and privacy impact assessment is always useful. Okay, and this one basically privacy impact assessment, you do an assessment on anything that you're going to implement. It could be a new system, it could be a new initiative, or it could be a policy to see how individuals or the corporation or groups privacy is going to be affected. So it's basically considering privacy issue at the early stage of the project cycle. This will reduce the adverse effect of privacy. But to be effective, you need to have an independent private impact assessors. Okay, the assessment has to be done not within organization. It has to be outsourced to someone, a third party who would be able to see the bigger picture, will be able to analyze it. And also the PIA, the privacy impact assessment performed by an independent in the entity. It has to be independent, as I mentioned. It has to be by it could be an office, okay, of the privacy commissioner or the commissioner itself, so that they would be able to give a better feedback to the company. And this is being implemented in EU and Canada and many other countries. So EU implemented this as part of their EU Data Protection Directive, and they have to have an independent body. And the US is also have started introducing since 2002. Now, in order for us to, conclude or to see the general observation of this presentation for today, the first thing you have said, at present, too many mechanisms seem to be operating on national and regional. There is no global. I have explained to you there is an EU data protection, and EU data protection had been adopted all the member countries, 15, 16 countries of EU. And also following this, many countries had adopted the law. For example, Canada had adopted, Canada adopted, Saudi Arabia adopted, Malaysia, Singapore, and Australia, and many countries have adopted it. But we don't have an international, law, and like OECD. They never came up with such an initiative to pass an international law so that all the member countries can join it. The second observation that you would be able to see is use of self-regulatory mechanism for protection of online activities is haphazard. It's not really effective. It's being used only by very few countries. For example, US is one of the prominent example you could see. It is not really effective. US of the view, they say, let the company regulate, let the freedom to be given to the company and the individual to decide, rather than the government unnecessarily interfere into those. And if you look at any technological solutions to protect privacy, it's only very limited level had been implemented so far. I didn't cover it in here because that's not part of our objective. But whatever solution that have been introduced, they are very limited. It's not enough being done, okay, to encourage the implementation of technical solution for privacy compliance and enforcement. Only very few countries, they reported activities in this area. You could see it. So privacy is a hot topic, you can see as a conclusion. And you could see consumer privacy is always challenged, and that need to be protected. Even though the governments and the NGOs and others understand the importance of it, but you don't see an international law on privacy, okay, and data protection. And whatever we have it is either the countries, they have taken initiatives to provide the law, and some of them, they just ignore it. But as we are individual, we need to make an informed decision. We can just go as everybody goes. And you can say, hi, come on, I'm just want to enjoy my life. I don't care about my data. If you ask a younger generation, there are research had been conducted. They don't care about their privacy. They just want to enjoy their life. They want to be online. They wanted to chat with people. They wanted to have free music, and they wanted to be on TikTok for 24/7. For them, privacy, it doesn't matter. Okay, maybe they didn't understand it, but naturally, if somebody who could understand it, they can decide what kind of information that they want to release, what kind of information they want to keep it. Okay. And I don't want my information unnecessarily to be collected. At the end of the day, I might be in trouble. For example, take the objection for facial recognition technology in US and in UK and other countries is because what happened? There's a lots of discrimination about Black people. Okay. And facial recognition technology, when they develop, they tend to capture colored people more often than the white people. This is the problem when they develop the system. Okay. And that create a kind of discrimination in terms of arrest, prosecutions. And if you look at it, when they use facial recognition technology, the people who have been arrested, prosecutors, most of them are colored people or Black people, okay, than the white. So this kind of discrimination might come because they didn't develop the system properly. That's why you need to be very careful on information what you want to give. Sometimes we don't have an option. For example, when they collected data during COVID, it's important. It's life and death. It's the public health. And people don't mind. Even in those circumstances, they need to be very careful, and they have to know how, for example, the government entities, they have to know how they are collecting it, and when they are collecting it, how they are going to use it. All this information need to be very carefully assessed by those organizations too. So both sides, we as a consumers and the other side who's collecting, they need to be a balance. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of abuses to our private information. With that, I would like to thank all the 111 participants who is in here. I hope you have benefited from this. Any question, I'm here to answer your questions.
Okay. Thank you for your insightful presentation, Professor Jawa. I call you Jawa.
Yeah. You go ahead. In Malaysia, people call me Jawa, so it's okay.
Jawa actually is the island of the place.
Yeah. My one of my ancestors, one side of my ancestors are from Java. So okay, I'm fine.
Okay, thank you for your insightful presentation, Miss Professor Jawa. I'm sure that all the participants today has learned a lot from you, regarding other data, privacy data. Okay, so I invite you for all the participants. Now it is in the Q&A or question and answer session. So we invite you actually two questions. The question first, you may ask related about this topic. You may raise your hand up or you write in the chat box. Okay. So maybe Professor Jawa, before the participants ask the questions, maybe it's from me.
Okay,
so
go ahead.
I want to ask about. Actually, I've got experience when I was in Saudi. I registered my mobile number over there with Saudi number. But when I register at that time, it needs the visa of my visa. So my question is, how is the legal protection of Saudi government toward foreigner privacy data?
Okay, it's a good question. Basically, I'm also foreigner here.
Oh,
so I'm a Canadian actually.
Oh, you are Canadian. Oh, okay.
Yes. I work here as as an expatriate. Yes, they do collect data, but they do have a good protection for the time being. The data protection law is still not implemented, it's passed. But the other existing laws, like the communication law and the communication regulations, protect privacy. And even anyone who is abusing and misusing, not only civil liabilities there, but also there are criminal liabilities. So when they collected your data and my data, and you could see that they collected it, but there is a responsibility on the side who is collecting to keep it properly, otherwise they could be prosecuted. Yes, there is a law, but the implementation, they need to be very strict on that one.
Okay.
I hope I have answered the question. I think Nurul has raised her hand. Yes,
Yeah.
Nurul.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Prof. Yes.
Yeah.
Ms. Nurul, go ahead, please. I think it's still unmute.
Nurul, you're on mute, yeah.
Still mute, Mbak Nurul? Bu Nurul?
I think she's driving and talking, perhaps. Yes, Nurul, you are on mute.
Maybe you can stop first. It's dangerous.
Oh, she can't unmute it.
Yes, can. Oh, I can unmute myself. Okay, wait. Maybe the operator. Can you unmute? Oh yeah.
Okay. Thank you for.
Okay, Nurul, you are on. Yeah. Go
Yes.
ahead.
Thank you for a very wonderful lecture, Professor Java. Like you mentioned earlier that you say there's no law, international law for data protection. And as you know that this data is global and there's no barrier between country. What about if the violation of the data is from another country? How about that? How can we sue them, or how can we do about that? Because
exactly, it's a good question.
Yes,
it's a good question. Yeah, for example, let's say Google doesn't have an office in Indonesia. Now you want to file a case against Google. How you are going to do that? For the case that I have discussed about Spain, the guy who managed to sue Google in Spain because they had an office in Spain, so they managed to sue it. But in your case, you may not have an office. So how you are going to file an action? This is where it's the biggest challenge comes in. Because if they don't have an office, unless and otherwise the government have taken initiative to make sure the companies are responsible for abuses, we are the only one need to protect ourselves. We need to decide what kind of information that we wanted to share with anyone, what kind of website that we wanted to visit. You may not ever, we are all using Microsoft. And if you happen to read their terms and conditions, do you know if you have any problem about Microsoft product, you cannot file your case in Indonesia or even in Saudi Arabia, Canada. I have to go to Washington, D.C. to file a case. And for that, we agreed. Do you see? So the jurisdiction is always a question. So that's why it is impossible for many of us to, sue those companies. The only thing that we can do, we need to be cautious. We need to be aware what are the things that we wanted to share with them, what are the things that we wanted to keep it to ourselves. And if you don't care about privacy, then that's your choice. But if you do care about your privacy, then you have to make the right decision. So far, that is one of the most challenging things to, to have a law that sues people from different countries. That is the challenge many of the countries are facing. Even the countries which have comprehensive law, they find it very difficult. For example, if any countries from Russia violated your right, do you think you will be able to sue the Russian company in Jakarta or in Indonesia? And even if you happen to sue, you won the case. Can you implement that judgment in Russia? Impossible. So we need to take protections against it. Okay, we need to decide, we have to seal it. Okay, I hope I have answered you. And there is another question. Do the hospital use electronic health record? How do they protect this data? Do you think it is effective? Okay. I recently have published an article on this aspect on Canadian data protection. Health data, they use electronic health records. Okay. And what happened in, for example, if I take Canada, Canada has a federal law, then they have the state's law. Okay. And both, they do provide protection for health data, but it's still, they need updating. Okay. So they, like, the countries are using it and they do have law, but the law need to be updated to accommodate new inventions. Okay. And many countries nowadays using electronic health data, whoever using it, they should have, if the country doesn't have a law, then at least the hospital which are using, they have to have a proper organizational measure to protect health data. I hope I have answered Trung Chua's question. Okay, there is another question. I can see it in here.
Yes.
Regulation, especially regarding how companies collect, store, and share consumer data, especially in developing and less developed countries, is still not doing well. Yes, it's a comment. What kind of regulations and corporate relationships should be built by developing and less developed countries? Okay, one of the good example you can see, ASEAN, for example, okay, or SAARC. And they have blocks. Do you see that? You know, ASEAN, one of all the Asian countries, they got together and they have this ASEAN bloc. What they can do, they can come together like EU. What EU have done, all the EU member countries, they get together and they set up a commission and they have come up with all the law. Similarly, SAARC or ASEAN member countries, they would be able to come up with these comprehensive laws to regulate their countries and their citizens and their companies. That could be a good initiative if they can take it, because not only Europe and US have all these blocks, the trade blocks, but also the developing countries, they have it. They have it for African, the developing nations, that union, and we have it for Asia, and we have it for Southeast Asia, and all those blocks, they can get together. They would be able to develop their own rules and regulations that suit them better. Okay. Is there any other question, Dyah?
I think that's all, Prof. It's enough.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Is there anything else you would like to clarify, Ms. Dyah?
Yeah. Okay, so I think it's the time also, already 2:37 here, and our schedule is 2:40 actually. It's just 3 minutes left.
Just nice. Okay, that's good.
Yes.
Guys, thank you very much for everybody, and I hope you benefited and hope to see you soon, inshallah.
Thank you so much
Okay.
for Professor Jawa. Thanks for
Thank
coming. Thanks for joining us. The point that I can conclude from our discussion today is, actually there is nothing free. Currently there is nothing free, because as what Professor Jawa said, that one thing that maybe we think that it is free, for example, we go to the internet, go to website, actually the company doesn't want to be lost because they take our data, our privacy data. So from our today's discussion, I hope that there will be great beneficial for us as the customer, how to protect our data. Okay, so thank you so much for all the participants today. We are now in the last session, so could you please turn your camera on. We are going to take picture together and show your beautiful face. All participants, could you please? Okay, I'll count it. 3, 2, one. Okay. Okay, I'll wait for, okay. Miss Meng Nguyen, thank you for turning the camera on. Another, please. Oh, Mr. Junaidi also. Andika Yuliatama, Pak Andika, could you turn on? Okay, Mr. Gatot. Okay, so let me count it down. 3, 2. Okay, wait, another one. Okay, Mr. Handoyo. Okay. Well, okay, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, maybe the operator has already captured it. Okay, so for the next slide. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so I think that's all for today. Thanks for Professor Jawa as a good speaker today. I hope we can meet another time, another program. And for all the beloved participants, we still have another schedule tomorrow. So please stay here. I mean, stay in this program until finish. Okay. I think that's all from me. I'm sorry if I have made mistake. So thanks so much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullah. Okay, I'm leaving now. Thanks.
Yeah,
Bye.
thank you, Professor.
Okay.